mass transit project. Also today, changes to small business reporting requirements in the new health care law. And now to live coverage of the U.S. House here on C-SPAN.
The House will be in order. The prayer will be offered by our chaplain, Father Coughlin.
Lord God of the universe, our hope in times of testing, our consolation and strength always. While this chamber goes about its work to establish security and good order for the nation, breathe forth a new spirit of creativity and learning in the hearts of your people, and guide the course of world events. By drawing closer to your holy will and revealed word, may the hidden treasures of lasting freedom empower your people to seek the truth and do what is right in conscience, so we may witness to your presence in our midst, both now and forever. Amen.
The Chair has examined the journal of the last day's proceedings and announces to the House his approval thereof. Pursuant to Clause 1 of Rule 1, the journal stands approved. The Pledge of Allegiance will be led by the gentleman from Missouri, Mr. Carnahan.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Chair will receive a message.
Mr. Speaker, a message from the Senate.
Mr. Speaker,
Madam Secretary.
I have been directed by the Senate to inform the House that the Senate has agreed, without amendment, to H.J. 44, making further continuing appropriations for fiscal year 2011 and for other purposes.
The Chair will entertain up to 15 requests for one-minute speeches on each side of the aisle. For what purposes does the gentleman from Ohio wish to be recognized?
Mr. Speaker, request unanimous consent to address the House for 1 minute, revise and extend my remarks.
Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday the Government Accountability Office released a report detailing billions of dollars of waste in the federal government. Redundant and ineffective programs infect the government like a plague. For too long, Congress has punted on its responsibility to rein in wasteful spending. And when I read this report, I took the same feeling. I had the same feeling as my constituents did. I hated it. According to the report, there are 15 agencies implementing federal laws on food safety. There are 80 different programs and numerous agencies that work on economic development. 24 federal agencies for information technology, and 82 programs dealing with teacher quality across multiple agencies. What is this costing us? Billions. Who's paying for it? You guessed it, the American taxpayer. The American taxpayer's dollars are being wasted by keeping these redundant programs on the books. We should immediately begin looking at ways to eliminate redundancy, stop wasting billions of tax dollars, and allow hardworking Americans to keep more of what they earn. Mr. Speaker, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. For what purposes does the gentlelady from Pennsylvania wish to be recognized? Without objection, you're recognized for 1 minute.
To offer some truth on the Republican spending bill. Over 300 economists believe that the Republican bill to cut $61 billion in mid-year could eliminate 700,000 American jobs and shrink economic growth by 2% just this year. These are short-sighted cuts that could threaten our economy and our economic competitiveness. Our goal should be job creation, not job destruction. Our Republican colleagues only care about cutting, without regard to where the cuts come from, how they negatively affect American families, or how detrimental they could be for our economy. This is not governing. Spending cuts should not be politically motivated or economically harmful. We do need to cut spending to reduce our deficit, but these cuts must be targeted and they must be responsible. They shouldn't cut into our core obligations to our seniors, to our safety, or to our future. Our nation's economy and our economic growth depends on investing in education, infrastructure, and innovation, all critical to private sector competitiveness. Balancing spending cuts with sound investments is the only way to ensure job growth and new jobs. It's time for the Republicans to move beyond political rhetoric to actions that really work to grow our economy.
Gentlelady's time has expired. For what purposes does the gentleman from Pennsylvania wish to be recognized? Without objection, you're recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, in the coming years, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania will have to find $2 billion additional to pay for Obamacare's mandated Medicaid increases. There's little flexibility in state budgets this year, and Pennsylvania, like many states, will have to make up a significant budget gap this year. The entire state budget is only $29 billion. Adding $2 billion more means significant cuts in services or significant tax increases. Pennsylvania is not alone. According to a new report released yesterday, this expansion will cost states $118 billion additional dollars. That is twice what was just recently estimated by CBO. We want to provide good health care, but we also want to educate our children, keep citizens safe, and maintain our rails and roads. Our state governments must be more than just health care providers. We must provide governors with the flexibility to determine the needs of their states. Under Obamacare, Medicaid is more rigid and more expensive, and even greater burden on states struggling to balance their budgets. I yield back.
Yields back. For what purposes does the gentleman from Missouri wish to be recognized? Without objection, gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yesterday, I voted for a 2-week compromise to keep our government's most vital programs running while we negotiate an agreement to cut the deficit without hurting our fragile economic recovery. Why? Because the government shutdown would profoundly hurt all Americans, and we need time to work together to avoid that. 15 years ago, a hyper-partisan Congress shut down our national government for ideological reasons and furloughed over 8,500 jobs in my hometown of St. Louis. And just this morning, the St. Louis Post-Dispatch reported that a shutdown could put as many as 38,000 people out of work in our region. Let's have a serious and spirited debate about cutting red tape and duplication and finding common-sense solutions. Let's focus on the priorities of the American people, creating jobs and cutting the deficit. We should do so by looking at 3 principles. Will it create jobs? Will it help the middle class and working Americans and our retirees? And finally, will it lower the deficit? I hope my colleagues will join me in passing a funding resolution that meets these essential goals. Our constituents deserve no less. I yield back.
Gentleman's time has expired. For what purposes does the gentleman from New York wish to be recognized?
Speaker, I ask the unanimous consent to address the House for 1 minute.
Without objection, gentleman from New York is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to fight for the job creators in my district. Small businesses and family farms in upstate New York are already struggling to survive in these tough economic times. We in the Congress can help by attacking the impediments to their profitability: high taxes, onerous regulations, and spiraling health care and energy costs. Today I rise in support of the repeal of the 1099 reporting requirement that was included in the government-centric health care bill passed last year. This new government mandate is set to require our small businesses to issue detailed tax information for each vendor with whom they do business beyond $600. Some of our small business owners have hundreds of these vendors, and this new onerous requirement is absolutely unnecessary and would add more burden to an already stressed bottom line. I look forward to standing with the small business and farms in my district tomorrow by casting a vote to repeal the 1099 provision. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. For what purposes does the gentlelady from Texas wish to be recognized? Without objection, gentlelady is recognized for 1 minute.
Speaker, this 1 minute is from the heart, and it disturbs me and baffles me for a country that I love. I don't believe there's anything more precious than for members to stand up and pledge allegiance to this great nation, and then to be taught as children about the American dream. That's why Democrats have focused their life journey on creating jobs for Americans. That's why we don't want to engage in frivolous budgeting that causes us to lose jobs. But why are Governor Walker of Wisconsin, Governor Kasich of Ohio, Governor Daniels demonizing the American dream, demonizing workers, teachers and transit workers and police and firefighters? Does anybody know that Wisconsin public workers offered $100 million last year to be able to help the state and have already committed to helping them this year? But no, union busting is not union busting. It is quashing the American dream, making it a crime to organize workers. What is America? I beg of them to stand against this kind of dastardly act. And Democrats are fighting for jobs. Where is the American dream? I yield back.
The gentlelady's time has expired. For what purposes does the gentleman from Mississippi wish to be recognized? Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm thrilled today to welcome over 125 advocates from 40 states with the National Fragile X Foundation to Capitol Hill. Today, the Fragile X community will visit their members of Congress to promote awareness, improved research, and more efficient treatments for Fragile X-associated disorders. This disorder is linked to a mutation on the X chromosome and is the most commonly inherited form of intellectual disabilities. Mr. Speaker, as you may know, this is a very personal and emotional issue for my family, as my 21-year-old son Livingston has Fragile X syndrome. I'm honored to have Livingston with me today in Washington to help me share our family's story about this condition. While we understand the challenges facing Congress, we ask you to continue to support federal investments in Fragile X-specific research, discovery, and public health priorities. Thank you, and I yield the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields back. For what purposes does the gentleman from New Jersey wish to be recognized? Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, Republicans have been in charge for 8 weeks, and this chamber has taken 154 votes. Yet we'll still see no signs of job creation or a jobs plan. With 14 million Americans still looking for work, I ask my colleagues on the other side, where are the jobs? Where is the plan? In this House, we have talked about repealing health care reform and instructing committees, but nothing about a jobs plan. And now, as we approach the deadline for government funding and a looming threat of crippling government shutdown, House Republicans are focusing on irresponsible budget plans that actually threaten job creation. In fact, the Republicans' proposed long-term CR not only fails to create jobs or spur the economy, it would actually cause more job losses and depress economic growth. Economists have discovered that their plan would destroy around 700,000 jobs in 2012. Mr. Speaker, as the impending funding deadline approaches, my Republican colleagues should negotiate in good faith and fund the government in ways to support job creation and economic growth, not cause greater job loss or economic damage. I yield back.
The gentleman yields back. His time has expired. What purposes does the gentleman from Florida wish to be recognized? Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm here to talk today about red tape, specifically the 1099 form. It's a relatively short, seemingly harmless form, yet when we require every business in this country to file a 1099 form for every business transaction over $600, it is far from harmless. In reality, this requirement is an enormous burden that takes time, energy, resources away from growing their businesses. The 1099 provision is one of the many back-breaking regulations included in the Democrats' health care overhaul that I opposed when it passed the House in 2010. Repealing this requirement would be a victory for America's small businesses, families, and individuals. Florida's businesses deserve economic solutions that will let them keep more of what they earn so they can innovate and grow. I urge my colleagues to support H.R. 4 and repeal this 1099 provision. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield back. The
gentleman yields back. For what purposes does the gentleman from Washington wish to be recognized? Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, one thing we share on a bipartisan basis is we like to, Republicans and Democrats, breathe clean air. We don't want to see our kids be exposed to aggravated asthma problems. That's why it's very disappointing that the Republicans are trying to threaten a government shutdown if they don't get to pass their Dirty Air Act. Now, their Dirty Air Act is a bill that they want to pass, and I'm not making this up. They want to pass a bill that would make it illegal for the Environmental Protection Agency to enforce the provisions of the Clean Air Act that will reduce air pollution. This is amazing to me. You want to shut down government if you don't shut down government in enforcing pollution. Now, I've always thought that the American people thought that was a really bad idea. So I want to share with my colleagues proof of this. In polls done in 19 congressional districts recently, including the Speaker's own district in Ohio, 68% of Americans said that we should move forward with the EPA in this. 6 out of 10 said the Republicans' Dirty Air Act is a really bad idea. We need to keep the government to keep us clean air, reject the Republicans' threats of a government shutdown.
Gentleman's time has expired. For what purposes does the gentleman from Rhode Island wish to be recognized?
I ask unanimous consent to address the House for
Without objection, gentleman's recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to honor the Meadows, an affordable senior housing community in my congressional district located in North Smithfield, Rhode Island. The Meadows excels as an elderly community by providing individual living with enhanced social services and high-quality care to approximately 100 Rhode Island seniors. The Meadows was built using a smart combination of federal, state, local, and private funding. It has a green design which includes geothermal heating, Energy Star appliances, and energy-efficient lighting. For the commitment to providing our seniors a quality standard of living, I congratulate the Meadows. I proudly join the National Affordable Housing Management Association in honoring the Meadows as a community of quality for our seniors for exemplary development. Thank you for your work, congratulations on your achievements, and thank you for your commitment to Rhode Island seniors. I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields back. For what purposes does the gentleman from New York wish to be recognized? Without objection, gentleman's recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, in 2010, the Republicans promised smaller government and fewer taxes. They even signed a pledge not to raise taxes. Yet here we are, 56 days after assuming control of the Congress, and Republicans are proposing to do exactly that, tax hikes for working, middle-class Americans. Their bill, H.R. 4, would repeal the onerous reporting provisions on small businesses, but on the backs of hard-working, middle-class American families. Those watching the debate are probably thinking, say it ain't so, Joe. But despite Republicans' claims, it isn't a tax increase. It is a tax increase. If it isn't, why did the Joint Committee on Taxation say it is? If it isn't, why did Republicans block a vote on my amendment that would prohibit any section of H.R. 4 from kicking in if it did indeed raise taxes on middle-class families? It took only 56 days to break that pledge. Republicans are raising taxes on working people. Say it ain't so, GOP. Say it ain't so.
Gentleman's time has expired. For what purposes does the gentlewoman from California wish to be recognized? Without objection, gentlewoman is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, it's hard not to get angry when watching the news or reading the newspaper about Wisconsin. We're trying to recover from the biggest financial crisis since the Depression, and who's getting the blame for our nation's fiscal problems? Teachers. Teachers certainly aren't the people who caused the Great Recession. It was a group of Wall Street executives who brought about the financial crisis, which led to the budget shortfalls in the states. Blaming teachers or cutting their pay is wrong. And working to strip them of the basic American right to collectively bargain because some greedy Wall Street executives made huge mistakes and went too far, well, that's absolutely also wrong. Of course, Wall Street executives have gone back to collecting big bonuses, while teachers and public workers are collecting the ridicule. It's time to quit blaming hardworking and dedicated teachers and let them get back to focusing on their students.
Gentleman's time has expired. For what purposes does the gentleman from California wish to be recognized? Without objection, gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Our national debt, as we all know, is approaching $14 trillion with a capital T. It's clear that we can no longer afford to continue the partisan bickering and short-term thinking that too long has consumed our nation's capital. Kicking this can down the road, while may have been in vogue at some time, can no longer be afforded by our nation. The staggering debt was not created in a day, and we can't dig ourselves out of this hole overnight, but we must stop digging. In order to tackle our debt, we must cut spending, agree to a stable source of revenue, and hold these commitments over the long term over a bipartisan basis. Partisan rhetoric will not get the job done. The Congress now has to deal with the reality of this budget mess. The long-term continuing resolution the House passed 2 weeks ago, though, won't grow our economy, it won't create jobs in the San Joaquin Valley, and in fact, 2 reports have indicated by respected economists that it will provide careless cuts and mean hundreds and thousands of jobs lost throughout the nation. We can cut spending, we can grow our economy, but it will require shared sacrifice across the nation by Democrats and Republicans coming together. Our nation's fiscal health depends on it.
For what purposes does the gentleman from Colorado wish to be recognized?
Permission to address the House for 1 minute, revise and extend.
Without objection, gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
One of the most critical issues to my constituents and Americans across the country is crying out for Congress to take action with regard to illegal immigration. This nation has over 15 million people who are here illegally, and yet I don't hear one word about comprehensive immigration reform. Comprehensive immigration reform that has strong majority support in polls from Republican voters, from independent voters, and from Democratic voters. Comprehensive immigration reform would finally establish real border security, real employment verification, and require that people that are here illegally register, pay a fine, and get right with the law. It's common sense for America, and it's time for Congress to take action on this critical issue. Lately, I've heard that we might be discussing mandatory E-Verify. That would make the problem worse. E-Verify encourages a black market in Social Security numbers. We need real employment verification with fingerprints or IIDs so we can identify who's there and don't simply contribute to a black market in Social Security numbers which can be bought and sold, only increasing crime in this country. My constituents are calling on Congress to take action on comprehensive immigration reform, and I urge my colleagues to bring this important issue forward. I yield back the balance of my time.
Bills back. For what purposes does the gentleman from South Carolina rise?
Mr. Speaker, by the direction of the Committee on Rules, I call up House Resolution 129 and ask for its immediate consideration.
The clerk will report the resolution.
House Calendar Number 13, House Resolution 129, resolved that upon adoption of this resolution it shall be in order to consider in the House the bill H.R. 4 to repeal the expansion of information reporting requirements for payments of $600 or more to corporations and for other purposes. All points of order against consideration of the bill are waived. An amendment in the nature of a substitute consisting of the text of the amendment recommended by the Committee on Ways and Means, now printed in H.R. 705, shall be considered as adopted. The bill as amended shall be considered as read. All points of order against provisions in the bill as amended are waived. The previous question shall be considered as ordered on the bill as amended to final passage without intervening motion except 1. 2 hours and 30 minutes of debate equally divided and controlled by the Chair and Ranking Minority Member of the Committee on Ways and Means, and 2, 1 motion to recommit with or without instructions.
Gentleman from South Carolina is recognized for 1 hour.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For the purpose of debate only, I yield the customary 30 minutes to the gentleman from Colorado, Mr. Polis, pending which I yield myself such time as I may consume. During consideration of this resolution, all time yielded is for the purpose of debate only. Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that all members have 5 legislative days to revise and extend their remarks.
Without objection, so ordered.
Mr. Speaker, House Resolution 129 provides consideration of H.R. 4, the Small Business Paperwork Mandate Elimination Act of 2011. If you are looking for a prime example of government regulation which, first, is an unnecessary intrusion on small businesses, second, enlarges government bureaucracy at the expense of taxpayers and entrepreneurs, finally, creates a mountain of mind-numbing paperwork which has a net effect of killing jobs, then look no further. Section 9006 of the Health Care Reform Bill does all of that by requiring businesses to report every expense that they incur over $600. not just in wages for their employees, but even for payments to other businesses and for merchandise. Imagine, if you will, a small business that picks up a couple of dozen donuts from Krispy Kreme on a weekly basis. At the end of the year, they must send a 1099 to Krispy Kreme. Think about the small business owner, like I have been for the last 14 years, who buys stamps from the post office. And now you have to send a 1099 to the U.S. Post Office. What about if you buy a printer for your office, or blinds for your office? Here comes more, another mountain of new paperwork. So now you're spending tax time preparing 1099s for Krispy Kreme, Office Depot, Walmart, Costco, Starbucks, and the list goes on and on. It's one thing for a large corporation with an in-house tax department. It's another thing completely for a small business, which spends an average of $74 an hour. That's $74 an hour on tax compliance, the most expensive paperwork burden that the federal government imposes on all small businesses. Then make matters worse. Last year, the President signed the Small Business Jobs Act, which expanded this onerous 1099 requirement to anyone who rents out property. How did this happen? Well, we are learning that after the bill's been passed, we're learning more about it. We had a Congress that passed a bill through backroom deals, shielded from the public view, without reading them. The American people have seen what's in this bill, and they don't like it. They don't like it one bit. That's why they sent all of us to Congress to repeal, to defund, and to dismantle this national health care reform. My Republican colleagues voted to repeal this bill 245 to 189 with a 49-vote greater margin than it was originally passed. That is also why 2 federal judges have already ruled that national health care reform is unconstitutional. And I am proud to be handling this rule on the House floor. H.R. 4 will remove an unnecessary burden from small businesses so that instead of creating 1099s for their expenditures, they can create W-4s when they hire new employees. I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman reserves the balance of his time. Gentleman from Colorado.
Mr. Speaker, today the Republicans are breaking a promise that they made to the American people, a promise not to raise taxes. The new majority came in promising a growth agenda. Instead, under the guise of giving administrative relief to small businesses, relief that we all agree is necessary, and a majority of this body last session voted to provide with a different way of paying for it, the Republicans are now increasing taxes on middle-class Americans and punishing workers. Mr. Speaker, my colleagues have also broken their promise to this body. The People's House was promised an open legislative process. Over and over, the leadership has told the American people they want to create an open process, create jobs, lower taxes. Yet here we are debating the second closed rule of the week on a bill that calls out for new and better ideas, a bill that in its current form will increase taxes and punish employees. We all agree that the 1099 reporting provision of the Affordable Care Act needs to be fixed. Just last Congress, we brought a bill to the floor to do that. H.R. 5982 would have repealed the 1099 requirements, but the measure failed because our Republican friends did not believe that ending incentives for companies to outsource jobs overseas, which is the way we paid for fixing this administrative burden at the time, would protect American jobs and wouldn't raise taxes on individuals. They didn't believe that that was the correct way to offset the legislation. Instead, in this Congress, they're seeking a tax increase on middle-class families as somehow preferable as a way of paying for something we all agree is important than ending incentives to ship American jobs overseas. Now, we will get into an argument about semantics. There will be those who somehow argue that this is not a tax increase. Well, if it looks and smells like a tax increase, it is a tax increase. A tax increase by any other name would smell as bitter. Indeed, under this bill, hundreds of thousands of American families will receive an extra bill from the IRS to the tune of $3,000, $5,000, particularly middle-class families, families earning $80,000 a year, $90,000 a year. The heart of what makes up the American middle class face the largest tax increases under this bill. This bill would raise taxes, harming workers that should be protected.
As the Joint Committee on Taxation points out, the Republican proposal would increase taxes for a family of 4 by an average of $3,000 a year. And yes, that's a bill from the IRS. That is taxes. T-A-X-E-S is what the Republicans are seeking to increase under this bill. Let me give another real-life example. One of the issues we want to correct with regard to the 1099 bill and work with the people, our colleagues on the other side of the aisle, to find a good way to pay for, is that currently people who have rental property are going to be classified as being in the business of renting property and being subject to additional paperwork under the 1099 provision. So this could be a family of 4, maybe they earn $60,000 a year in salary. They earn another $20,000, $25,000 from a rental property. They work hard, they keep up that property. Maybe it was formerly a family home. Maybe they saved up over 10 or 15 years to buy it. And with the 1099 paperwork problem, we're saying, hey, you put a new refrigerator for $600 in that rental home, you have to fill out additional government paperwork that makes you responsible for taxes on that, okay? That's what we want to save people from, Republicans and Democrats. We're saying, you know what? We don't want to burden that family. We don't want to burden that. You make $60,000 a year, you're getting $20,000 for rental property. We don't want you to jump through hoops to put a new refrigerator in your rental property. But you know what? To that family, they say, we don't want to do that extra paperwork. But if it's between that paperwork and paying a $5,000 bill to the IRS, I'll do the darn paperwork. I'll do the darn paperwork. Who are we trying to help here? Who are we talking about helping? If they don't want the help, if this is actually harmful, who are we talking about helping? According to Families USA, House Republicans wish to decimate what remains of the safe harbor that protects individuals and families from substantial tax penalties. The Affordable Care Act provides built-in flexibility to consumers and protects them by capping the tax penalty to low if monthly premium credit received during the year exceeds the amount of credit due based on unexchanged income or family status. So again, how can unexpected or unplanned for income or family status change? It could be a bonus, it could be a raise at work, it could be a divorce, it could be a marriage. There's a number of ways these things change and put people in a higher category where the IRS will be sending them, because of this bill, $3,000 to pay, $5,000 to pay. That's what American families are going to be on the line for. These provisions of the Affordable Care Act recognize that forcing middle-income individuals to repay the entire amount would dampen their willingness to sign up for insurance in the first place, would penalize them if they found a new job, or penalize them if they received a raise. This process of reconciling actual income versus tax credits is often called a true-up. Now, last December, as part of our bill to prevent the SGR payment cuts from going into effect, we changed the true-up policy for the better. We converted it to a graduated income approach to protect those with middle income levels and enable us to ease away from the cliff that people face when they reach the 400% level. Now, let's talk briefly about health care reform. Now, I know that there's a lot in health care reform that my colleagues on the other side of the aisle don't agree with, but I like to think there's some they do agree with as well. One of the most important provisions of health care reform from a market perspective is the incentive it gave middle-class families to work and get off of government health care. Let me explain. Before this House and the country took up health care reform, there were many families that were right at the cutoff point for Medicaid, okay? Let's say they're earning $10 an hour, right? If they got a raise to $10.50 an hour, they might lose thousands of dollars in government benefits. And I met constituents who said this. They said, look, I'm earning $9.50 an hour. I can't even take a raise at my job. I can't work another 20 hours a week at a side job because I actually lose money. So the government was telling them they couldn't work harder. The government was telling them, we're going to trap you into a cycle of dependency. The government was telling them, if you earn any more money, we're cutting off your health care. We replaced that in the Affordable Care Act with something I like to think has support from both sides of the aisle, and that is a sliding scale of reduction. So there's an actual incentive to get off of government health care, to get off of Medicaid, to better yourselves, to take that 50-cent raise, realizing you might not get to keep all 50 cents, you might lose a little bit, but you know what, we're going to let you keep 30 cents of that, and then 20 cents will go to decreasing your government benefits. Eventually, you're weaning yourself off of government aid entirely and be able to support health care. That's another misconception. It's not that people want to receive Medicaid or government health care. What they want is to be able to afford, to earn enough money to afford to have private insurance. That's the goal here. The Affordable Care Act helps them get there. This would strip that provision back and provide a disincentive for families making $75,000, $80,000 a year, depending on the size of the family, to work harder. America was built on a strong work ethic. We all on both sides of the aisle have a strong awareness of the market-based system we live in and the power of incentives. We should provide an incentive for middle-class families to earn more, not earn less. Why do we penalize those who succeed? Why are the Republicans seeking to raise taxes on middle-class families who are seeking to do a little bit better? We should encourage them to get that second home and make some rental income, to work another 10 or 20-hour-a-week job so they can send their kids to a good college. That's what this body should be discussing, and instead, we are about to present to the middle class in this country an enormous tax hike. Now to fund something we all agree, and that's why if this was an open process, as Republican leadership has repeatedly promised, we could come together around better ways to pay for it. Okay, you didn't like the way the Democrats proposed paying for it last year, and you know what? By the way, a lot of those pay-fors wound up in statute anyway, paying for other bills. But let's work together to do that. Consistent with the Cut-Go proposal, let's make cuts in government expenditures somewhere to pay for closing this 1099 loophole. Let's not put it on the backs of the middle-class families earning $80,000, $90,000 a year, those who are least able to pay for a tax increase. You know, I was proud to support the continuation for 2 years of the Bush tax cuts at the end of last year. Let me tell you why. I think it would be unthinkable to raise taxes on families making under $250,000 a year. Now, I supported letting them expire for families making over $250,000 a year. You don't take pleasure in that, but it was because I felt we needed to do that to close the deficit. We couldn't leave that revenue on the table. But I felt it was so important to make sure that families making $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 a year didn't get a tax increase that I was willing to support that tax increase for millionaires as well as part of the package. And yet here we are in the third month of the Republican Congress with an enormous tax increase on those Americans who can least afford it. The very families who are making $80,000, $90,000 a year, who form the backbone of the American middle class, facing a $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 tax increase because of the way the Republican majority has chosen to pay for this, what we all agree is a worthy cause, reducing paperwork for small businesses and home renters. With that, I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman reserves the balance of his time. Gentleman from South Carolina.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Nugent.
Gentleman from Florida is recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you from the gentleman from South Carolina, and thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today in support of House Res 129 and the underlying legislation, H.R. 4. Last year's health law was rammed through without the opportunity for the American public to let their voices be heard. At the time, then Speaker Pelosi said Congress had to pass the bill to know what was in it. Now we know. Even Democrats are realizing how many problems there are in this bill. One such example is the 1099 reporting requirement. This requirement forces business to report nearly all expenses exceeding $600 to the IRS. This result is new, onerous burden on small businesses. The requirement means 10 to 20 times more paperwork for small businesses, and the U.S. Business Administration estimates that 1099 compliance will cost small businesses $800 more per employee annually. Small businesses are the economic backbone, and the 1099 requirement is breaking their back. My colleagues on the other side of the aisle will tell you H.R. 4 is a Republican tax increase on middle America. That couldn't be further from the truth. The offset we're using here today prevents individuals from receiving health care subsidies that they aren't entitled to. We're preventing people from defrauding the federal government. We're taking money away from people. We are protecting taxpayer dollars by ensuring they're being used the way that they're meant to be used. Moreover, the subsidies we're talking about today don't even take place until 2014, which gives taxpayers ample time to know the facts. The 1099 requirement is affecting small businesses today. Anybody who calls this rule an attack on the middle class isn't telling you the truth, Mr. Speaker. We're here today because the Republican majority is committed to jobs and protecting and creating jobs for the American people.
Gentleman's time has expired.
I yield the gentleman another 30 seconds.
Thank you.
Gentleman's recognized.
The Democratic passed 1099 reporting requirement is a job killer. We want to make sure that small businesses can use their hard-earned profits to expand their businesses, open new storefronts, and bring new employees, not spend their time reporting to the IRS. If we're going to create jobs, we need to create an environment where small business can succeed. H.R. 4 is an important step in fostering that environment. With that, Mr. Speaker, I encourage my colleagues to support this rule, support H.R. 4, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields back.
Thank you. It's my honor.
The chair lays before the House the following enrolled resolution.
House Joint Resolution 44, joint resolution making further continuing appropriations for fiscal year 2011 and for other purposes.
Gentleman from Colorado, you is recognized.
First, I yield myself 30 seconds to respond. This is not, as my colleague from Florida indicated, about fraud. The law has strong penalties for fraud already. Now, there's agreement to close this extra paperwork on the 1099. What we are supporting is an open process that will allow the majority to work with the minority to find a way to pay for solving this increased administrative overhead without raising taxes on American families. With that, I'd like to yield 3 minutes to the gentleman from New Jersey, Mr. Pallone.
Gentleman from New Jersey is recognized for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My colleague from Florida who just spoke said that the Democrats were going to attack this proposal or the pay-for this proposal by saying it's an assault on the middle class, and that's exactly what I intend to say. Unless I misunderstood my colleague from Florida, he seemed to suggest that the health care subsidies that people who are in this $80,000 or $90,000 income bracket was something that they were not entitled to. I suppose because he thinks that somehow they're too rich. Well, let me tell you, if you have a family of 4 and you're making $80,000 to $90,000 a year or something like that, certainly in my state of New Jersey, but in a lot of parts of the country, it's very difficult for you with a family of 4 to be able to buy a health insurance and to pay your premium without some help. And that's exactly what we're talking about when we talk about people who are middle class. I mean, you know, people who are middle class could be making $25,000 a year, $40,000, $50,000, $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 a year. It's not easy to be able to afford your health premiums if you have a family of 4 and you're in that income bracket. Now, I regret what's happening here today because the bottom line is there was bipartisan agreement on the main goal of repealing this 1099 reporting. Doing away with it is something that the Democrats actually put on the House floor and voted on last session. But what we had during the 111th Congress is a repeal bill that basically was paid for by closing tax loopholes for companies that ship jobs overseas. And we weren't able to get that passed because it was on suspension and only 2 Republicans joined with us. It was actually endorsed, the pay for and the bill, by the National Federation of Independent Businesses, but the Republicans wouldn't support it. There's no question here that we want to repeal the 1099 reporting requirement, but we don't want to pay for it on the backs of the middle class. We should pay for it by closing these loopholes for taxes for companies that take jobs overseas so that we can create more jobs here at home. I just can't believe what the Republicans are saying. They have this offset that would essentially eliminate protections for middle-class families, cost them about $6,000 or more in payments to the IRS. So the average middle-class family is either going to have to pay more to the IRS in order to get some kind of benefit on the premium or just decide to go uninsured. I mean, the whole point of the Affordable Care Act was to try to deal with those middle-class families that can't afford health insurance. If you're very poor now, you get Medicaid. If you're over 65, you get Medicare. But if you're a working person, you can't afford your health insurance a lot of times because what happens is you have to go and buy it on the individual market or your employer, because your employer simply doesn't provide it. And that's these middle-class people that we're trying to help with the Affordable Care Act, those that need a little help so that they can afford their premium. And these are the very ones that you're saying, no, it's too bad now, we're not going to help you.
Much time has expired. Gentleman from South Carolina.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield 3 minutes of the time to the gentleman from California, Mr. Lundgren.
Gentleman from California is recognized for 3 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate the time. Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased that we are bringing H.R. 4 to the floor. This is a bill that I introduced in its original form last April 26th when we looked at the health care bill that had passed and saw that this, which has absolutely nothing to do with health care, this new burden on businesses, this double-edged sword against small business, was put in that bill supposedly to pay for part of the health care bill. Now, we have our Democratic friends talking about the pay-for here. I happen to think that we don't even need a pay-for, because I think there is a game that is played in this place, which is we will put something in the health care bill that virtually nobody knows is in there. I'll bet you 99% of the members of the House and the Senate who voted on that bill didn't even know this provision was in there. We then have it scored as somehow gaining $19 billion for the federal government over the next 10 years, which I happen to think is made out of whole cloth, because you have to assume that virtually everybody cheats in order for you to come to that conclusion. And then if we say we now want to get rid of this unnecessary burden, which, by the way, when I introduced this last April, I couldn't get a single Democrat to join me on. I was told by Democrats that the leadership had said, don't get on that bill. Don't dare do anything like that, because that will be the first repeal of the health care bill. After a while, I finally got some to join me, and now there are 38 members, I believe, of the other side that have joined, so that we now have a total of 278 members, I believe, that have co-sponsored my bill, H.R. 4. But the point is, we bring this new obligation in, this new paperwork obligation. We claim it's going to gain us $19 billion. And then what's the joke on the American people? If we dare repeal it, we're responsible for somehow coming up with $19 billion in additional taxes. Now, I know what the Ways and Means Committee has done. They've added this to the bill, a pay-for, and I understand the justification for it. But frankly, the rules are such that they're gamed against the average American citizen. You come up out of whole cloth to create this new obligation in your bill, and then once you do and see what the actual implication is, and small business said this is a job killer, you say, okay, we'll allow you to bring it to the floor, but only if you pay for it with new taxes in some way. Well, our side has looked at it and said, instead of that, why not say those things that are not to be given to folks under this bill ought not to be given to folks under this bill. That is, overpayments ought not to be allowed. As Secretary Sebelius said, when your side brought up a very similar provision last year, she said basically this is a way to recapture funds. Do you have another minute?
Yes, sir. I yield another minute.
Gentleman.
And so I would just like
for 1 minute
to get away from the confusion that is being displayed on the floor today and just get back to the essence of this bill. It is to repeal a provision that was put in the health care bill that virtually no one knew about, that is a job killer, that is recognized as being a job killer, that the other side with the majority could have at any time last year gotten rid of, which finally the President recognized in the State of the Union address is an excess in this health care bill. And let's not make it a political football now and say, well, now it's a tax, or now it's this, or now it's that. Frankly, it is an attempt to try and repeal a section of the health care bill that never should have been there in the first place, that has erroneous premises on which it was developed, a suggestion that somehow most Americans involved in business cheat. That's the only way you can justify $19 billion coming back to the federal treasury. If you believe that the average American businessman and businesswoman, particularly small businessmen and small businesswomen, are cheaters. I never have accepted that. I won't accept that today, and frankly, we ought not to allow this kind of debate to stop the repeal of this provision of the health care bill.
Gentleman's time has expired. Gentleman from Colorado.
I yield myself a minute to respond to my good friend, the gentleman from California. I agree with much of what you said, particularly when you said we don't need to pay for. I agree with you that to a certain extent the gains are illusory. Yes, they're used as a pay-for. Yes, there's a shell game. Yes, on paper it looks like so much money. There's times that you and I might both disagree with the CBO, for instance, and this might very well be one of those. But the answer, and I hope my friend from California agrees, is not instead of doing no pay for, or perhaps allowing an amendment under this rule that would allow us to eliminate the pay for? The answer is not to raise taxes on the middle class. And with that, I'll yield 5 minutes to the gentleman from New York, Mr. Crowley.
I thank the gentleman from
The
Colorado.
gentleman from New York is recognized for 5 minutes.
I thank the gentleman from Colorado, Mr. Poulos, for yielding me this time. I rise in strong opposition to this rule because hidden deep in this bill is language that indeed will increase income taxes on middle-class American families by thousands of dollars a year. My Republican colleagues claim their bill is not a tax increase on the middle class. They argue Grover Norquist says it's not a tax increase. They say Democrats have, and I quote, decided to dance the Washington two-step, unquote, claiming this bill contains a new income tax on working families. Well, hearing all that, I have one simple question. If the Republican plan is not a massive new income tax increase, then why did the Republican majority refuse to allow a vote on my amendment, which I offered? My amendment simply said that no section of this bill would take effect if it raised taxes on any American family of four earning less than $110,250 a year. That's all it said. It just makes it clear you can't raise taxes on the middle class. That's all it said. It is a straightforward and simple amendment. If Republicans actually believed their own rhetoric of cutting taxes, they would have accepted my amendment and allowed a vote on that amendment on the floor. Let me say, we took Joe Crowley's amendment and accepted it because we believe this bill will not raise taxes on the middle class. That's what my colleagues could have said. The Republicans refused to allow a vote on my amendment. They refused to debate it. They refused to even discuss it. Why? Because they know their bill raises taxes on the middle class by thousands of dollars. It's not just me saying it. The Committee on Joint Tax states that this bill will raise $25 billion in new revenue, which is shorthand for taxes. It doesn't come out of the sky. It just can't take that $25 billion out of the air. Somebody, someone has to pay that. And that entity is the middle class of our country. Even Grover Norquist at Americans for Tax Reform has written, and I quote, Americans for Tax Reform has always followed the Committee on Joint Tax methodology. He follows the joint tax methodology. So if joint tax says it's a tax, Grover Norquist has to agree it is a tax. But the best example is a real-life example on how this bill will raise taxes on middle-class families. And by the middle class, I mean families with children earning no more than $110,250 a year, not the millionaires the Republicans were trying to protect when they held these same taxpayers hostage in December to demand tax cuts for the richest 1% of Americans, those earning over $1 million a year. Here's how this bill will raise taxes on middle-class families. If you're a family of four earning $88,000 a year, which is approximately 398% of the federal poverty line, the Democratic health care law caps the amount of health care premiums you'll be forced to pay annually at no more than 9.5% of one's income. In this example, that is $8,360 a year on a typical family policy valued at $13,000. So the family receiving private health care insurance would pay $8,360 in annual premiums, and the federal government would provide a tax credit valued at $4,640, with these funds going directly to the insurance carrier, from Treasury to the insurance carrier, go through the family. The family doesn't touch it. The husband and wife, they don't touch that money. It goes right to Treasury. If this family got a $250 bonus at the end of the year, say in December, boss asks the husband or the wife, whoever the bread earner in the family is, maybe it's both, to come in, and they said, you know what, you're doing such a great job. We think you have management potential. We want to give you a bonus, They're like thinking, a bonus? We're going to give you a $250 bonus. Go out and buy the family a little dinner for the holidays. That $250 bonus will bounce up that family to 401% of the federal poverty level. And under the Republican bill being debated now, this gentleman,
minute from New York.
Gentleman's recognized.
This family would be required to refund the government the entire $4,640. Talk about making work pay. Talking about getting a bonus for doing hard work and making work pay. Oh, here's $250. Please give us $4,460 back. Let's remember, the $4,640 in tax credits never actually goes to the family. The Treasury cuts a check to the insurance companies. So the insurance companies, fine. They keep the money. It's the poor schlep, the middle-class man and woman, who has to pay that money back. So in essence, this bill, H.R. 4, is charging families who played by the rules, not tax cheats, not people who are trying to scam the system, paid by the rules, thousands of dollars in new taxes. These are not families getting so-called overpayment checks or cash from the government. These are honest, hard-working families who are just trying to get ahead. Adoption of my amendment would have stopped the Republican tax increase on middle-class families. And it would still allow for the repeal of the onerous 1099 reporting requirements on owners of small businesses. Democrats want to enact the repeal of 1099 reporting requirements. We passed a bill in July of 2010 that didn't raise taxes on anyone. Instead, it closed loopholes that allowed for exporting of U.S. jobs overseas. Guess what happened to that bill? Your side blocked it. The Republicans blocked it. That wasn't the only time Democrats did this responsibly. Recently, the Senate passed a bipartisan deficit-neutral repeal of the onerous 1099 business reporting requirement. Let me make it clear. Democrats are ready to repeal 1099 requirements, but we will not do it on the backs of hard-working, middle-class Americans.
Gentleman's time has expired. Gentleman from South Carolina.
Mr. Speaker, I yield 1 minute to the gentleman from New Hampshire, Mr. Ginta.
Gentleman is recognized.
Thank you very much. I thank the gentleman from South Carolina for yielding his time. Mr. Speaker, I rise to add my voice to those calling for the repeal of the 1099 provision. H.R. 4, very simply put, Mr. Speaker, is about protecting small business owners, job creators in New Hampshire and across our nation from onerous paperwork burden. Simple as that. Nothing more, nothing less. Currently, this piece of legislation, component of the health care legislation, requires those small business owners to comply with the federal government every time they spend $600 with an individual vendor over the course of a calendar year. I've talked to many small business owners in my home state of New Hampshire who have told me specifically how this would hurt their small business. We should be here to encourage small business owners to innovate, to expand, to make sure that we give them the predictability of this House and public policy that will allow them to create jobs. The heart of New Hampshire's economy is the small business owner. 80% of our economy is reliant on the small business owner. I ask that my colleagues join me in repealing the 1099 provision, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields. Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from Colorado.
Thank you. I'd like to yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from Rhode Island, Mr. Langevin.
Gentleman from Rhode Island is recognized for 2 minutes. Without objection.
I thank the gentleman for yielding. Mr. Speaker, I have always looked for opportunities and ways to support our nation's small businesses. We all know that they are the real job creators in our country. Well, today, I strongly support repealing the enhanced 1099 tax reporting requirement established under the Affordable Care Act. Businesses across my home state of Rhode Island and the country have made it crystal clear that this is a highly problematic requirement that results in serious logistical and financial burdens if it's not addressed before next year's implementation. Now, we passed the Affordable Care Act in part to ease the burdens of health care costs on small businesses, not replace them with onerous tax provisions. This is an opportunity for lawmakers, regardless of party affiliation, to come together and fix a problem in the Health Care Reform Act that will protect businesses of all sizes. Now, I was proud to vote for this, the repeal of this provision last year, and was equally disappointed that it didn't garner enough votes to pass either the House or the Senate. But it is my sincere hope that Democrats and Republicans will take this opportunity to set aside the differences and agree to repeal this provision in both a fiscally and socially responsible way. As currently drafted, this repeal would be paid for by raising taxes on middle-class families and making it harder for them to afford private health insurance when the Affordable Care Act goes into effect in 2014. This is unacceptable. Surely we can find a better way to pay for a bill that lessens the tax burden on businesses than by increasing the tax burden on middle-class and low-income families. To that end, I ask my colleagues to support, but to consider an alternative way to pay for this bill when to come through for them, as is the middle class. We can't afford to let them down. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With that, I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from South Carolina.
Mr. Speaker, I yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from Georgia, my cousin, Mr. Scott.
Gentleman from Georgia is recognized for 2 minutes.
I'd like to thank the gentleman from South Carolina and looking forward to visiting the